Good morning, everyone. Namaste. I'm just very happy to be here, and also for the OGTC. Thank you for having me. And it's just been my honor, just to speak very briefly about the what we call the new the concept of the material flow cost accountings. And I think it has been discussed about the importance of the reduction of the costs, and also how we can manage these through the what we call Kaizen activities, which is actually originally created actually in Japan, and especially the Toyota and also some other Japanese companies. And actually, the reasons that I've been thinking, why I have been actually just be here, is just bring probably a little bit more new insights or a little bit further steps about these kaizens. And so today, through this, what we call a principle of the material flow cost accountings, I'd like to share a little bit what is actually going on in Japan in terms of this the Kaizen activities. What will be the kind of current status whereby we see this Kaizen and how we can work with the organizations, how we can work also with the some environmental aspects. Such as energy, material efficiencies, and how you can accountable for your organizational financial performance. So those are the kind of key topics that I'd like to share with the morning sessions. And I'm going to actually, it's going to be probably 30 minutes or less of the session. So I'm going to skip several slides, but for the afternoons, I'm going to take a little bit longer sessions. So if you're interested in more details, please just be with me for these afternoons. Okay, so today, again, I'm just going to briefly introduce myself, which I'm going to just minimize it. And also the secondary, I'm going to also touch on the what is this MFCA and also its benefit. And then thirdly, I'm just going a little bit more deep insight about how this concept can work for the industries, and also how it's being utilized by some of the Japanese major Japanese companies, and also how they gain some benefit from this concept. Okay, so that's the sort of the main topics that I'd like to go through. Okay, so for myself, actually I'm based in Tokyo, Japan, but this is almost my probably 10th times just to be in India. So which means that I have been actually providing basically the consulting as well as training the services, and which actually based on our hands-on experience in Japan, and just try to bring this whatever the new concept, whatever the new approaches from Japan to actually whole Asians. And actually the missions is actually a bit more emphasis on the what we call sustainabilities, which means the environmental awareness, human-related awareness, as well as of course the corporate the performance, the enhancement. So those are the key three elements that we just try to focus. And actually my background is actually happen to be from the environmental side, which is material and energy, actually the efficiencies, as well as the other the risk management in terms of the environmental, as well as the labor management, the topics. So the idea of this what we call MFCA is this. Is actually originally we have actually what we call 300 years of probably the history of this MFCA. Well, MFCA is actually kind of technical terms that I'm going to explain, but before that, I'd like to touch on the one concept, what we call mottainai concept. Mottainai is a very tricky, a Japanese word, but which actually brings from the actually heart of each employee, each management, just to be aware of how wasteful we are. So wasteful means wasteful of the time, wasteful of the materials, wasteful of the the overproductions. I think the many distinguished speakers talks lots of aspects about these topics. But really, the concept of this methodology is coming from what we call this culture, aspect of this the Japanese call what we call mottainai. And now, based on this concept, we actually kind of developed the concept what we call green kaizens. So green kaizen is really a kind of self-explanatory terms, which talks about the kaizen, but it comes with some green benefit, such as environmental, actually the impact reductions, and etc. Nowadays, I think that last year, we see some agreement in Paris, France, about the climate change management, and also lots of actually the business negative impacts, such as material price fluctuations. I mean, there's so much increasing risks that we need to manage, and at the same time, we need to be really accountable, for what we are going to do with that. And I think that there was one topic about the Apple, and now what the Apple, for example, focuses, as well as the major textile the apparel companies. They try to manage their supply chains and then just request all the information about what you are doing really in terms of the environmental as well as the social management. So to that aspect, not only the production aspect, but at the same time, we need to explain, and also we need to understand what we are doing, with these environmental and social matters. So from that end, actually, some of the Japanese companies, and also we receive some ideas, and then we develop how we can fulfill this risk management as well as the production investment based on our Japanese cultures, and that's what we call actually the green Kaizen approaches. And actually, MFCA is actually one of the key methods that helps this, what we call a green Kaizen approach to be at your workplace, so that you can see the benefits, as well as you can minimize and you can manage your environmental as well as the social aspects. Okay, so just a little bit background. So who actually implements these MFCA ideas? The first time, when I was in India was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and that was my actually first, very first, a pilot project for this MFCA implementation in India. So you can see the one company that's actually Somani, which is a major producer for the ceramics, and I think it's very famous companies, isn't it? Here, yeah. So they see the very big impacts from this MFCA by reducing their costs as well as they're reducing so much environmental impacts. So, and at the same time, we have more than 10 years of the history by the almost more than 300 companies who are from very big size companies such as Canon, Panasonic, to the very small size companies such as Sandem. These companies actually successfully implemented this concept just to actually further reduce and identify their losses, and also how they can control the material losses. So one of the example again about the MFC cases in India from the pilot project, which mainly focuses on the very small SMEs companies. And there are actually lots of the things that we achieved through this MFCA the project. So the approaches that we are using is basically how we can optimize lean Kaizen, whatever the ideas that we can bring in is the method approach wise in terms of the implementations, reducing the losses. Yes, I mean those are the things that we can use based on your existing ideas. But the key actually the key point for this MFCA is how you can get the new information, how you can identify your new unidentified invisible losses, because without any information there's no way that you can do the improvement. So that the informations and also that information has to be effectively communicated to the management peoples, and also it has to be effectively communicated to the on-site shop floor peoples as well. So that information is very, very key for the effective improvement and Kaizen. And I fully understand that the people in India is very, very smart, especially when it comes to numbers, calculations, and also the implementations. So if there is the right, correct information, and then I strongly believe that we see the very, very big improvement and also efficient enhancement in the productivities. Okay, so what is this concept? Okay, so the MFCA actually stands for the material flow cost accounting. Okay, some people feel, okay, that's kind of a familiar term. Probably it's not so familiar, material flow cost accounting. Okay, so you're chasing the flow of the materials, yes. But it's actually much, much more than this. Again, as I said, that the information is a very, very key element, for the organizations to take any actions. So basically, what kind of information can this MFCA provide you, to gain some benefits? Okay, first, definitely we focus on the first start point as the material. And I think there are many people, and also from since this mornings, we have been discussing about the size of the fabrics and fabrics, the characteristic of the fabrics and etc. But this material is not only the fabrics. We are talking like all of the input that we have been handling like at your factories. So the scope of the material is much, much bigger in case of this MFCA. And in terms of the flow, we are talking about the production flows. So this production flow is probably we can get these information from the department, production department, etc. But we just try to understand like behaviors of your materials input and output. And again, like it's not only limited to the fabrics. And finally, we try to add the information about the cost for your losses of the materials. And again, like this cost is not only limited to the material cost, but we try to include all of the costs associated with their losses, such as like labor cost, energy cost, and also even the overhead costs, so that you can fully characterize actually the cost of your losses. So from there, like you can take the very the reasonable the decisions or like actions. So as I indicated, this is just a sort of easy to simple chart. But basically, the idea is starting with the materials, but what we call is the input cost. So this input cost actually covers not only the materials, but all the labor, whatever the production-related costs. And then that cost can be distinguished, actually going toward into the product or to the material losses. So that material loss is the key for the improvement. And again, the cost information associated with that material loss is actually covers not only materials but other associated costs, and that typically makes you understand much better about the characteristics and also impacts of your material losses on your factories. Okay, so basically, in Japan, why companies doing these ideas is first is definitely like it drives the very basics, the much bigger chances to reduce your costs for sure. So for the organizations, as you can see on the upper side, we definitely have what we call like internal benefit, which is for the organizations. And at the same time, when you be much better in terms of the material resource efficiencies, that also contributes to the outside environment. So what we call like external benefit. So we try to manage, whatever the risk, the tighter and tighter regulations in terms of the environmental, resource efficiency, fluctuations of the market price, and etc. By using these external benefit ideas. And at the same time, we try to actively increase our internal benefit by reducing basically the costs. So that's one of the key goals why we are doing that. But first, definitely, this MFCA gives you some ideas about some losses that you have not identified before. So that will be the very start point. Okay, so as I said, so this MFCA has the lots of aspects, but the important things and the simple idea is how you can get some new information by doing this MFCA. That's the core and also the most important elements. So from there, I'd like to just briefly touch on what kind of information you can gain, like for each aspect for the environment quality and as well as the management accounting aspect. So actually, in the afternoon, I'm going to, and also my team and our teams, I'm going to work with some other teams like in India, and so we are going to describe a little bit more about this MSCA how it can be implemented in textile companies, because we have already conducted some projects. So I'd like to share that examples in the afternoon. But basically, the idea is, we try to highlight what is the input and also what is the output for each process, unit process, and then we try to characterize this by cost, not basically the amount. And from there, we try to analyze how much money we are losing from your production processes by actually producing what we call like negative products. Positive product is for sale, but negative product is for waste in Earth. So that negative product, let's just reduce that negative product. That's the key ideas. And then, so how we can reduce that negative products? Okay, how much motivations can we have? Okay, here's the information about that cost. So that cost information actually drives you and also makes the management people really serious about like, how we should reduce the what we call like negative the products. So anyway, in the afternoon, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about like, how this works for your industries. Okay, so in terms of the ideas, again, like, this is already sort of like the very standardized approach, and which I have been providing like for the many of the companies. But basically, like, if you have some existing like productivities or whatever the Kaizen improvement teams or schemes or activities, that can be really applicable to these MFCAs. But first, like diagnosis and also the how we can analyze whatever the loss and how we should like map out like these ideas. Probably, I think it's good to have some like initial like expertise like for these activities. So that's the again like the ideas of these the approaches, and so. The idea is really you will get the the detailed information about the cost of your material losses, and that cost has the first like you can describe it in a kind of like profit and loss the statement, and so that that information can be effectively communicated to your management peoples. And at the same time, amount of the loss, which is very visible because obviously there's always the waste storage boxes. And so like that waste, by reducing that, you can just actually, the operators can feel that like, you are doing like the improvement. So these are the steps that which actually like, boost your organizations like, to be more sustainable, and also the reducing loss like for the higher competitiveness. So again, like, this chart actually talks about some tools, steps, whatever the charts that has been already standardized. So basically, the step by step, if you actually take the appropriate actions, there is always the very good chances that you can actually identify the loss like from this what we call like a material flow, the cost accounting approaches. Okay, so I think the time is very limited, and also everybody is getting really hungry for the lunch. So I'm going to stop my presentations, and I hope I can see like many of you like in the afternoons. Thank you very much.